Hello, welcome to Flory Models. I'm Flory. Great week this week, great week last week as you saw. There was no news show because obviously we spent the day on Friday at RAF Odiham with 27 Squadron. We had an amazing time. You know, we got access to areas you never thought we'd ever see. It was great. We've got to thank a couple of people. We've got to thank Wing Commander Shepherd for obviously allowing us for the day and his talk at the beginning of the day. We've got to thank Larry Clark, who with 27 Squadron, which is obviously one of our members, for arranging absolutely everything and getting the green light for us to go up and see all those different areas and things like that. We've got to thank SAC Jenkins. He gave us the talk on the survival equipment and body armour and everything else like that, so big thanks to him. Alice over at the Moet team as well, who knew, you know, literally, I know I keep putting it up on the forum, but I didn't even know they existed, and to think there's only a handful of them doing that, that was absolutely amazing, and a great briefing from her at very short notice. Got to thank Chris as well, who was also a member of the site. He's over at with the radar section over there. Great insight down your mushroom farm and seeing everything. I know the members really like that, as well as the chat in the tower as well, going up in the tower and seeing all those things. Really fantastic. And then really, I suppose the highlight for everybody of the day was Bath with the hookers team and allowing a few of our members as well to go and hook loads under their supervision underneath the Chinooks. And then obviously the big thanks to Delta Bravo, the helicopter, who gave the display at very short notice for us and allowing all of that. So it's absolutely fantastic. It was a full day, and the curry at the end of the night was pretty good as well. Oh, and actually lunch in the officers' mess. Thanks to all the stewards as well for putting up with us and everything else like that. And it was great food as well. We had a fantastic day, you know, and what we're going to do is show a video about it, just a short video. There's longer ones going to be available for the members, and what I'll probably do is bung it onto a DVD, so if anybody wants a HD version of this, then shoot me a PM on the site and I can sort you out with the DVD. If you just cover the cost of the postage, we do it like that. Anyway, a few things to get through first. Quite a busy boy this week. I've been working on the new Spitfire, okay? So the Spitfire itself, great kit. I know I spoke about it before and I banged on about how, you know, especially Airfix and Revell really ought to do a range of kits where kids, or youngsters especially, can put a kit together and it will go together without giant gaps and wings that don't fit and canopies and all the rest of it. Well, I'm happy to report now, after building a few of the new Airfix ones, they've done it. You know, these kits drop together. There's no filler on this kit at all so far. It's all ready to go in paint now, and they're very well detailed. We've got recessed panel lines, which are great, easy to do washes then and all the rest of it. We've got good detailing, you know, the fit's good, the clear parts are clear, and everything else like that. So it's been absolutely fantastic. So what I've done here, I've done a little bit of review, and it's the first 5 minutes of part one that the members can see this week. This particular build we're going to be doing is quite a straightforward one, but I hope to show you lots of little interesting techniques and things with it. But this is the brand new Airfix Seafire. Now, for many, many years, I've been actually saying that what we need is one of the original companies like Airfix or Revell or someone like that to bring out a line of kits reasonably priced, okay, that go together exceptionally well. And I have to say, I don't know if somebody was listening, but probably not, but at the end of the day is Airfix recently have brought out a range of kits. Specifically, I'm thinking about their 109, obviously their Spitfire range, which are absolutely fantastic kits. They go together exceptionally well, and the detail on them, as you'll see in a minute, is absolutely fantastic. So what do you get in the box? Well, basically, as you'd imagine, the layout is quite similar to their old stuff. You've got quite basic instructions, but they go through, you know, everything that you're going to need. You know, we're not talking silly basic, but showing you the degrees of angles and things, which are quite nice, and obviously various things. Now, the thing you will notice, you can have this on a stand. It actually fits on a stand with the gear up thing, but you have to buy the stand separate or make your own. But this particular kit, compared with their old ones, is a lot more detail. We've got things like positionable flaps. Obviously this one's got a wing fold, being a naval version as well. But see, we get some great markings and things like that as you go through. But as I said, that's pretty much standard. Where it comes different is, firstly, the decals are all in register now. When we say register is certainly some of their older kits, shall we say, used to have the white would be off and things like that. The only thing I will say with them, they are very, very matte these days. You know, a lot of people used to complain they were too glossy, but with a flat coat over the top, it takes care of it. I'll cover it more in detail, but certainly now there's loads of aftermarket decals out there. So, what do we get? Well, if we just grab a knife, one bag covers all, okay, and then down in the bag away. We get a separate bag for the clear part, which is always a nice touch, because all too often you find them flying around in the kit itself when they scratch and everything else. Looking at them, they're not crystal clear, but they're quite thick, and with that thickness obviously you lose the clarity. But that said, there's a little technique called dipping, which we're going to cover in this particular build anyway, which will clear a lot of that up. But as you said, very nicely done. We'll just pop those back in the bag. Now this is where it really gets interesting. Now the kit itself, just grab the old controls here, I can bring you in. Now the thing is that immediately you notice this has got recessed panel lines. When we say recessed panel lines, we mean like down here, that all the actual panel lines are grooves and shown down. Now the great thing about grooves is that the actual wash and things like that sink into them. Also they're very smooth on the top, so they're easy to mask and things like that. Early kits used to have what we call raised panel lines, and by their nature there used to be a problem because you couldn't put them back in. If you sanded them off, you couldn't really get them in. You used to have to make a panel line in there and do it again. There was other techniques by using thin bits of sprue and that, but you know, really they weren't practical. With this one, if you sand out one of these panel lines of detail, we can just carve a new one in by scribing or with a needle, and we can put them back in, which makes them a lot more easier to do. So as I say, we've got great detail all over it. Pretty heavy sprues compared to a lot of manufacturers. A lot of manufacturers out there, and their sprues are quite delicate and all the rest of it. And also we call it soft moulding. You can actually physically get hold of the sprue and bend it, okay, where some of them, they're very sharp and cracky, okay. But looking at it, great detail all the way over. Flash is something that you want to look out for on a kit. Flash, all that is where the two areas get sandwiched together. You get a little bit of sort of seepage between the two. Not really any relevance on there. All looking very nice. And then certainly over here, you've only got two sprues, but as I said, all very nicely laid out, all very nicely crisp and everything else. Okay, perhaps the panel line detail is a little bit heavily done on such a scale, but it's not going to hurt, and obviously it'll show it very well, and it's an easy kit to go together as well. Some nice little touches. If we go from the inside, we've got detail down here on the inside of the actual sprues themselves for the insides of the cockpits, which is quite a nice touch you can see here. So as I said, by the time we put on some of this other framing down here, we've got the instrument panel, back of the framing, into this cockpit area, it'll really look alive, and on something of this scale, really adequate. So that's basically it for the build. It should be quite a fun build, and as I say, we're going to talk our way through this, like perhaps you're coming back to the hobby, or perhaps you're just sort of learning new skills and everything else. So we're going to go through the construction side of it, sanding and filling as are required, using new techniques like super glue and things like that. Then we're going to make our way through to actually doing a basic airbrush job on this, using simple techniques to get good effects. A simple wash afterwards, a little bit of pigments to bring it to life, all ready for the final reveal at the end. So if you are new to modelling, this should be a great build for you. Okay, so there you go. Members, you can see the rest of that video. Obviously, that's just the first 5 minutes. Now, it is quite a basic build. The reason for that is, obviously, it's in HD now, and I wanted to do a new basic build. But also, it's a little bit of getting back to basics of actual model making. And I know some of you, you know, we all pick up new things from now and then, so it's well worth having a look at, because obviously, there's a few techniques that I do now that I didn't do before and I haven't shown before. So I'll be showing them this particular build now. So this one is all ready to go in the paint bay, which will go in on Monday. And going on with it. So as you said, members, it's on the site now. It's the next 30 minutes of it. The other thing that is up there this week is obviously the part 5 of the Liberator build. Now with this particular one, we've got covering a couple of basics again, I suppose. We're showing how to put decals on with no silver in, okay, without using aftermarket products such as decal softeners and setters and things like that. So what I use is literally acrylic thinners and paint it over to get exactly the same result. And you know, if you're going to see part 5 on this one, you're going to see as well, there's no silvering on this absolutely anywhere. And other little techniques we've done with it, which is literally like cutting the decal as well, so that way the wash flows through it, and any weathering you're going to do is post weathering and things like that. Also in this particular episode, we cover things like going around and breaking up the paintwork by using lighter and darker shades of the green to stop it looking like a brick, and that's what gives it this sort of, you know, more faded look, but it's dark as well. And then obviously we go around and do some post shading to give this griminess as well all over it. So anyway, that is part 5. That is up on the site now. Last part will be up next week. And we'll go on. To be honest, the other thing I am working on as well, which isn't up yet, first part will be up next week, is this giant suffer. This is the 1/32 big suffer. The box lid, you can see, this is the one I'm doing at the moment, okay? Now, because it's quite technical, I'm still ironing out a few things because obviously we want this on some type of diorama base. It's going to be fully lit with the LEDs. We got all the electrics sorted out now, but I'm still just working on how we're going to get this thing standing on its rear wheels, on its main gear with a nose wheel in the air is how I want it to be. So just taking a little bit of a juggling, as I say, we've got it all worked out, and hopefully we'll have enough together to get part 1 up next week, and then obviously we'll rattle ahead and through. As we're speaking ahead, I'm just going to mention now, I am going to be off on holiday in a month's time. It's a month today I'm away, so you've got 4 weeks. That site will technically shut for new members and obviously orders through the store. So if you've got any orders you want to get them in now, before I've got plenty of time to get them all out and everything else like that. But I'm away for 2 weeks on holiday, me and Mel, it's our annual holiday, so we'll shut the site down for everything. Obviously members, you'll still have full access to the site, to the forum and everything else. The other team members will take care of you in the forum. It's just literally, if you're thinking of becoming a member and everything else like that, do it sooner rather than later, because obviously when I'm away for 2 weeks, I will be closing down that part, so you won't actually be able to subscribe to the site until we come back at the end. Anyway, that's about it for this week, because we've got quite a long piece to show you now. So this is what we got up to at RAF Odiham.
Welcome to RAF Odiham and 27 Squadron. This is obviously the main briefing room of our little facility here. A little bit of background about what I'm going to give to you this morning. I'm going to talk for maybe about an hour or a bit more, depending on how many. The way we work things, between 18 Squadron just down the road and us, we've got 5 operational flights. We've got 3 operational flights on this squadron, 2 on 18 Squadron, plus they've got the training unit embedded in them, so they've got 1 flight that always stays in the UK. So 27 Squadron, we've got A, B and C flight. I'm on A flight, and 18 we've got A and B. So we'll rotate it through. We'll go up first, then we'll hand over to 18, then it's 27, then 18, then 27, and then it starts again. 27C flight, hand back to 27A flight, and we'll sort of split up the duties and deploy this in that way. So each of our 5 commitments there lasts about 10, 11 or so weeks. We've basically got a cycle that the station work to called an Op Jericho cycle. That will get us ready for each stage of deployment. We'll have to hit sort of certain currency markers and have certain qualifications before we can go on. We've always got 1 crew plus all the support elements, so engineers, the safety equipment section, the hookers over the road that we're going to see later on, any number of people really ready to support us to go and do any job on a 1 hour notice to move, and that's 24/7, 365 days a year. Normally we just sit at home, wait for the phone to ring, and if the balloon goes up, we'll come in. So it's quite nice, but recently I think the government were a bit concerned about these sort of Mumbai-style terror attacks, so they moved everybody onto camp. We had to live on a married quarter, spare married quarter. And things like this. Yeah, so if the rescuers break down, we'll go and rescue the rescuers. Happens not very often, but you know, a couple of times over the last few years. It's mainly the search and rescue seeking guys very rarely break down, to be honest. It's mainly sort of smaller army helicopters like Lynxes or Gazelles, Pumas even. I don't think we can understand a murder yet, but we'll try. This was I think it was G8 or G20 operation back to bring him back to the UK. They didn't want him to sort of be driven through the street, etc. So they thought he might, you know, if he's willing to do this, he might have some mates who are willing to sort of bust him out with guns and etc. So they brought him back in a Land Rover with one of our ships. We dropped him at a police training college in Kent, and then they whisked him off down the road somewhere. So yeah, good photograph. Not only demonstrates what the more unusual sort of UK national standby coordinates, but also demonstrates what we can get in the back of the aircraft. So you can get to the back of Afghanistan. This is where we work down here. This is Helmand province. We used to be based out of Kandahar, obviously in Kandahar province, just there. And then we'd, for our tasking, for most of our jobs, we'd fly from Kandahar to Camp Bastion, which is about a 40-minute transit. Land, shut down, get our day's tasking programme, brief with all the guys we're going to work with, get back in the helicopter, do 8 or 9 hours of tasking, and then fly back to Kandahar at the end of the day. So you're looking at, what, an hour and 20 minutes of extra flying, pretty much unnecessarily. So what they do is, as Bastion was getting bigger when we first arrived, we used to work, our area of operations used to be right up to Gajaki Dam at the top, all the way down to pretty much here. We used to call this area the fish hook. That was quite a nasty area. And we did do ops all the way down to Baram Shah right at the bottom. We still go down there every now and again. that's a great way for the insurgents to get arms in and drugs money out, so it sort of fuels their arms trade, if you like. So we go down there every now and again just to see what they're doing. But yeah, basically our area of operations was tasking wise from there down to about here. Casualty evacuation anywhere in the province, often into Kandahar province as well, sometimes into, which one's that, Nimruz, over to the west, maybe a bit up into Farah in the north and Uruzgan, northeast. You can see it borders Pakistan down at the bottom. I think Nimruz borders Mark III, the big tractor fuel tanks on either side. This is actually the UK National Standby aircraft at the moment, so don't touch it because it breaks. We'll have to rearrange other aircraft. What we've got on the front then, obviously the nose is a different shape to the old Mark II over there. It's a bit more pointy because it should have a weather radar in it. I need to get out for me, no idea why. But it's the same shape as the Dutch one, so just up there. Obviously got the pitot tubes on the front, FM radio aerial. This little thing here that looks like a turtle's head is that is the radar warning receiver. So if we're going anywhere, and just in the back we've got all his navigation computer there, and he can assist the front end. He can assist the front end with all his radios, because we've got a radio box in the back as well, some of his mission management and decision making. And also he'll be responsible for running the tasking. So I'll have a copy of the daily flying program sheet with all the serials we've got to do, the loads need to go here, to go to there. Sometimes you can reorder them so it makes more sense, so you don't have to re-roll the aircraft some new time. We'll be basically running that. Coming further down, this is where all the gas goes in for both tanks. So you see the land on next to the Bowser, we can put 6 tons of fuel in, 3 tons in each fuel tank. If you take a closer look down here, you'll see that on the Mark III, rather than having 3 fuel tanks per side, which the Mark II has, it's not obvious they're all wrapped up in one thing, but there's 3 fuel tanks per side. We just got 1 big tank. And they're not actually attached to the airframe, as you would traditionally imagine being bottom on the side like the Mark IIs are. If you take a look in here, there's like a big silver beam, and there's another beam down the back, and they basically rest on the beam and kind of wobble. As the airframe vibrates, the tanks will wobble. You'll be flying along, you look outside, you see the fuel tanks coming down, and it kind of makes it a bit less stress on the airframe with that way the fuel. course, in the event of a crash or heavy landing, if you land onto half, they'll break off the aircraft and roll away. And they'll seal themselves up whilst they're doing that. That's the same for the Mark II aircraft. They're designed to break them and seal the hose in there. Sorry, it's a bit gloomy. Obviously the main cargo carrying cabin. A sec. Around Sangha. If you wanted to load a Land Rover and get it strapped down, you can do it in 20 seconds. So they drive one, put a handbrake on it, and do it in real time. It's safer.
Exercise Prairie Thunder in Canada, we had Exercise Passion Vortex in Jordan, Exercise Jebel Sahara in Morocco, that's been cancelled, Exercise Askari Thunder in Kenya, as well as supporting 12 Brigade for their PDT and holding national standby and getting new guys through their training service.
Yeah, go straight up from that, right on the horizon, very, very faintly you'll see a mast. That is 700 plus feet high, and it's called the backshot mast. If you look out this way, if you go straight over the top of the Bowser, that's here, right, and you'll see the mast there, that's the King's Tail.
We are lucky to have some and it discharges the electricity from the car. You wait for your crew member to touch you before you pull the car. If you go before this, you'll be having Christmas before December. was it, Tone? That was something absolutely awesome, the most amazing thing I've done in my life. I tell you, you do not realise the draft in those things. It's seriously hard to stand up on that. So thank you, Phil. I've never experienced hurricane force like it. If you get underneath, it's like the hurricane's dead still. So, you just experience that force.
Yeah, that's it.
You're a very strong man to do that.